Hi, I'm the Gadget Guru, Andy Parr, and you're watching thevog.net. Today we're going to talk about Cardo Systems Scala Rider G4, and with me is Phoenix, otherwise known as Mark. Now, here's what we did. Previously, both Mark and I had the Scala Rider Q2, correct?
Yes, exactly.
And Cardo Systems had sent me down a G4, the match set, to test. Well, as you know, I've already done a video about how to install it, how to pair it with an iPhone. But what I haven't tested is how it works with the phone and how it works in intercom mode. For the simple reason, about the time it came in was the time I got rid of my last bike, which was the Spider, so I didn't have the opportunity. Well, during this trip to Estes Park, Colorado, as you can tell on our perfect background here, and let me know, we're at the historic Stanley Hotel up here, that Mark and I were taking a trip together, and I got the second unit. We installed it in his helmet so we could see how it worked. Am I correct so far?
Yeah, everything, we set it up and everything went together really good.
Well, you know what was good about this is that they come out of the box, the two units, pre-paired, so there was no pairing process. But we had to pair it to the phone. Now, I've already paired mine. What did you think about the pairing process?
It was actually really easy. All I did was take my BlackBerry and do a Bluetooth search. It found the G4 immediately, put in the security code, and matched up immediately.
How would you compare the sound quality on a phone call when using the Q2 versus the new G4?
You know, I always thought the Q2 was really good. I had no issues receiving a phone call, and the people on the other line really couldn't tell when I was on a motorcycle, as long as I had my full face, the screen down. And we've made a couple phone calls and got the bike up to about 4,000 RPM. And from my end, hearing it on my side, I thought it was fantastic. The new speakers, the new stereo speakers, I think are a huge step ahead of what they had in the Q2.
So you think it's a marked improvement over the previous model?
It is. It's a lot easier to hear, and I can hear out of both, left and right side. I had a lot of issues with the Q2 where if the speakers weren't absolutely perfect right up against your ear, you could only hear out of one ear or the other ear, and you had to do a lot of fiddling around and messing around with it. The new speakers, I just put them in there, haven't done any adjustment whatsoever, and have been able to hear perfectly.
Well, you know, that's pretty much the same experience that I had. Now, one feature that I used that, you know, because you just set yours up just a couple days ago, you haven't had the opportunity to use. I've listened to music using my iPod, Bluetooth, stereo Bluetooth, and I have to tell you, the quality was pretty good. You know, I've just put it, you know, I had pre-selected a playlist on the iPhone, put the iPhone in the pocket, and it sounded pretty good. It didn't sound as good as if you had headphones or an earbud, but it was stereo, and it did sound good. But now let's get to the intercom function, because today we did a tour of Rocky Mountain National Park. We went all the way to the top, 12,000 feet, where the air is thin. The weather, we dropped 35 degrees or so as we went up. What did you think about the way the intercom performed in terms of being able to have a conversation while you're riding?
I think the quality of the conversation was outstanding. I didn't have any issues with the quality of the conversation. As you know, we did lose connectivity, I think, twice. You know, why that is, I'm not quite sure. I don't know if it was range. I don't know if it was because we didn't have the antennas up. And then trying to get the connection back, and we had a little bit of a problem with that. Again, I'm not sure why. Once we reset the headsets, it came right back on, and the voice connect worked perfectly fine. So from that standpoint, you know, if there's an issue, you know, we can, you know, we'll probably try and figure that one out. But the quality of the conversation was great. I could hear you perfectly. And again, the speakers are just a huge upgrade from the Q2s.
On the Q2, since I never used it in the intercom mode, let me ask you this. Did it perform the same way where it was a duplex conversation, where it didn't clip off a conversation where two people could be talking at the same time?
Yeah, it did. I mean, they worked the exact same way. The Q2, the G4, they both worked the exact same way. And I was a big fan of the Q2. We used it on a 3,000-mile trip down and back, had conversations, and used the voice connect, used the push button connect, and had absolutely zero issues with the Q2. Like I said, the sound quality with it just being non-stereo speakers, and we've already talked about that, was a little bit of an issue. But also the range on the Q2. I found the range on the Q2 to be much better than advertised, where there were a lot of times where we would get much further apart than the advertised distance, and we could still carry on a conversation, and we'd have to be separated by a lengthy distance, plus maybe get a couple of semis in between us, and then we would lose that connection. But as soon as we came back together, the connection came back immediately.
As you pointed out, we lost connectivity twice. Let's note that you did have, I think you had your antenna up, but mine really wasn't up because I had a camera mounted to the side, and because of the way I mounted it, it just couldn't be done. I don't know if that's the case, or at the time it went off, we were in the mountains. I don't know if altitude plays a part in it. I don't want to come out to Cardo's defense. I'm sure we'll get an answer at some point. Overall, so we can sum up the review, what's your take on the G4?
Well, it's a reference to the Q2, and again, I was a big fan of the Q2. I never had any issues with it, other than a little bit of sound quality. The speakers are a huge upgrade. I think if we get the connectivity, the voice connect thing figured out, I think it is a really good upgrade. And then again, the distance, again, we were in altitude, we were in cold weather, it was raining. Your antenna wasn't up, my antenna was. We weren't getting the distance that we had thought, and maybe that was what it was. But the speakers alone, I think, is definitely worth it.
Okay, so now you be the judge. Questions, comments, or opinions, check it out at thevog.net. For thevog.net, I'm the Gadget Guru, Andy Parr, and I'll see you on the road and online.